I am now joined by Sven, the Senior Director of Digital and E-commerce at Koia, which is a plant-based beverage company based out of, is that California? Is that right, Sven?
Yeah, we're based out of Los Angeles.
Perfect. I guess to kick things off, I kind of just want to get like a general lay of the land in terms of how you and Koia approaches the customer experience, throughout the customer journey. So when you think about it at large, kind of like taking a very zoomed out approach, how do you think about the customer journey at large? How do you think about, finding the right person, message, time, medium?
It's definitely a great question and a challenging question. And for a business like Koia, where we are, predominantly brick and mortar and traditional retail, but also we do have a growing e-commerce presence. So not only we have our own D2C website, we also have Amazon.com, and another huge vertical for us that's been growing like 400% in the last year is Amazon Fresh, so grocery delivery. So each platform kind of requires its own timing and its own message per customer, and for each platform it's kind of a different need. For us, what we try to do is an omni-channel approach, and we use different mediums like ActiveCampaign. We recently also incorporating SMS technology as well. But what we do is it's heavily reliant on automations, to be frank with you, because that's like the best way to send those tailored messages based on a triggered event. So for instance, for us, like if it's someone that's shopping on D2C and they abandon a cart, for instance, we have an abandoned cart sequence that does really well for us. And for the first trigger, if they abandon the cart, we'll maybe send them a nudge like, hey, you forgot something in your basket. Here's free shipping or 10% off, kind of like a minor discount, just to kind of maybe nudge them. Maybe they got distracted and they just closed the browser, but we'll nudge them with a little offer and send them an email. If they don't open that, or if they don't convert from that email, then we have an automation journey set up to where the next message they receive will be a little more aggressive, maybe like a 15 to 25% off discount to really incentivize them to convert. So we're tailoring the message each time to try to get the desired action that we're looking for. What we try to do is when there's someone that signs up on our newsletter, for instance, our automation will send like, hey, thanks for joining our newsletter. But we'll actually send them to a page where we're constantly trying to extrapolate more data from the users. So we'll send them a survey, and then once they fill out that survey, all that data that we've collected will then go into our ActiveCampaign CRM, and we'll continually start to learn more and more from them. So for instance, one question we'll ask them is, where do you like to shop? Like what grocery store are you buying Koias from? And then if they say, for instance, Whole Foods or Ralph's, Safeway, HEB, what have you, we're in, I think, 15,000 stores now. So we're growing really fast. What we'll try to do is then when we have a promotion, say at Whole Foods, there's a two for $6 that are going on in Whole Foods. We'll send a tailored message and create a campaign, and we'll segment that audience from everyone who said that they shop at Whole Foods. And then we'll send that entire audience of Whole Foods shoppers a email that says, hey, by the way, Sven, because we use a merge tag, so it kind of gets a little more personalized. There's a 2 for $6 going on at Whole Foods. Get it while it's hot. The date ends in 2 weeks to create a little bit of urgency. So that way we can also help brick and mortar sales by increasing sales velocity by letting our audience know that there's a sale going on. So that's kind of an offline way that we also try to tailor messages based off of data that people have submitted and we keep learning from.
In terms of finding the right person, how do you identify new audiences, or how do you identify new contacts? Can you kind of take me through that process?
Yeah, definitely. So we, like we said earlier, it's, it can get really complex really fast depending on your business. But for instance, what we try to do is we invest a lot of money in paid media. And so we use really targeted campaigns to find new audiences and try to find new prospects. So we will, for instance, if we're looking for new Whole Foods customers, there's a huge audience on Facebook of people who shop at Whole Foods. I think the audience size is at 15 million. And we'll send them an ad that is like, find a store or join our giveaway. And then what we try to do is when they sign up on our website and they submit a form, we'll tag them. And so once we tag them as, Whole Foods giveaway, we know that they typically shop at Whole Foods. We don't know 100% for certain because it's based off of interest. It's not based off of actual like, hey, this is a customer of Whole Foods. But if they have an interest, there's typically highly likely that they are actual shoppers at Whole Foods, and we'll tag them. And that's really how we are able to find new audiences. And we like to try to do fun things like giveaways. We'll put together like, Diane, she's our digital marketing manager. She does an awesome job of putting like fun little games together for our audiences to stay engaged. So we did like Flavor Madness, where people chose like which flavor is the best on a bracket, and then everyone voted. And then by the end of it, the number one flavor would show. So we try to like really interact with our audience that way and do fun things. But at the same time, we're also trying to, on the back end, tag our audiences to the appropriate kind of audience to organize them, to make sure that we know like, hey, this person, they really like giveaways, so we'll tag them with giveaways. This person really likes discounts because they signed up on our newsletter and there's a 10% discount. So then we'll typically send them D2C free offers and stuff like that. So that's how we kind of try to organize them based off of that. And most of that is through paid media. And with paid media, you're able to kind of really hyper target that audience. And the cool thing with ActiveCampaign is once they submit their email, and then you create a survey, just another form essentially on your website, and they input their email that's connected to ActiveCampaign, all the fields that you're collecting, like how many Koias they drink per week, or what their hobbies are, or what their favorite grocery stores are, it'll automatically data gets sent to that account within ActiveCampaign that's connected to that email. And it's essentially getting that account information getting smarter and smarter with more and more data. And you can actually go into that person's account and see like all the different data points that you're constantly collecting. So it's really awesome to like, first you hook them with a newsletter with an offer, and then you send it out a survey like, hey, do you want to win a free case of Koia? Submit this survey. And then you're continually learning more and more about them. And it just allows you to make better business decisions and better tailored marketing campaigns around that data.
Once you have the right person or right, segments of your audience, as you get more information about them, learn more about each contact, how do you kind of evolve the messaging, with that journey? How do you approach that?
From the data that we keep collecting, we're able to kind of use advanced search, and then we're able to really see like everyone that loves to skateboard, and we'll create a campaign based on that. And then the content within that email is really high. Maybe we'll put an image of a skateboarder who is skating and also is drinking Koia, which again, from that campaign from Crush It with Koia, I think that we're going to get to, that's what we did, was we were able to get a bunch of content from a bunch of uniquely awesome people. So we'll segment on everyone who likes to skateboard. And then that message campaign that we send out, the email campaign, the image will be of a skateboarder holding Koia, what have you. And then that's what the content will be more tailored to. And you'll find a lot better open rates based off of using content within your email that's more hyper targeted and related to what their favorite hobbies are, which would be skateboarding.
Right. And so in this process of, gathering this information is automated, and then you're pulling the information out, and then you're sending a message and really relying on automation to deliver this very personalized, tailored experience. I just think there's a lot of misconception about, automation meaning, the same thing for everybody. But I think you're giving us a little bit here that doesn't have to be the case.
Yeah, big time. And if you didn't have automation, like you'd have to have a team of 100 people that is like going in and trying to, organize your entire audience. But you can have a super lean team that, marketing team, if you implement automation in place of that. And it just makes your email marketing just that much more powerful when you're able to organize everything. And the best way to do that is with automation, for sure.
In terms of how you approach, when is the right time to deliver some of these messages? Could you take me through your thought process, or kind of how Koia approaches that?
Yeah, for sure. I guess it's kind of two steps to that. One's just regular campaigns that you send out. One's just automation sends. So I'll go to campaign level first. What we like to do is look at our reports, and we'll look at historical timing that works best. Like, so what time of the week, what actual time of the day that we actually get better open rates and click-through rates. And we can do that through, we can find that data through our reporting tab. And then once we figure out, oh, Thursdays at 5 p.m. typically work better for just general sends. And then for stuff that's like D2C sales, typically work better in the morning. So depending on what we're kind of sending out, what kind of campaign we're sending out, we'll dictate what time we're going to send it and what day we're going to send it. So that's for regular campaign sends. And then for automations, what we like to do is if someone signs up for Koia Crew, they get a confirmation email that says, hey, thanks for joining the Koia Crew. That's awesome of you. And by the way, here's a free coupon for being awesome and signing up. And then if they don't click on that free coupon, or I'm sorry, if they don't click on, hey, you also need to sign up and join the Koia Crew Facebook group, because that's where we do a lot of the announcements for people who win giveaways and stuff like that. If they don't click that Facebook group, then what we do is we wait like 2 days, 3 days, and then we send them another email that says, hey, Ernie, thanks for signing up again, but we really would love for you to join our fantastic group. There's a bunch of awesome people like you in there that are, posting and interacting, and there's a ton of value in this group. And we'll send them another automation that's more tailored, has more urgency to it. Because if you don't join this group, you might miss out on winning giveaway prizes and knowing if you're a winner in one of these giveaways. So we kind of use the automation triggers and the if and else, I think that's the trigger, to where if they don't open this email, then we'll send them another email that's more urgent. And then if they do, then the automation ends and they hit the goal. So.
Got it. It just seems like, again, with a right time conversation, I feel like so many people just think that there is a set time, a set day to send, and there's X amount of time that you need to wait between emails and this kind of a thing. And to your point about campaigns, that is true to an extent, but I just find it really interesting with your automation point that it's almost like, when is the right time to send an email? The right time is when they tell you that it's the right time. You just need to be looking for that. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, definitely. You obviously don't want to oversend, because then you'll start seeing a big unsubscribe rate. But,
Sure.
Again, you always want to just keep looking at the reports tab, and you'll be able to understand like, whoa, my unsubscribe percentage rate's really high this week. What did I do? Or this month, what did I do? I sent double the amount of emails. So let's pull back on that a little bit. And then not send so many. Or it's the opposite. Like my unsubscribe's so low. What is that point to where can I send more? Because if I can send more, that means I can make more sales. I can get in front of more people. So really looking at the data and looking at the reports tab is super helpful to understand, what the happy medium is.
Throughout this conversation, you've mentioned email, you've mentioned SMS, you've mentioned Facebook. What is the right medium to contact someone on, or do you change mediums, based on where they're at in the customer journey?
Yeah, we are open to all mediums. Our philosophy in our marketing team is test before you even come to a conclusion. I think that's a good philosophy for any digital marketer, because a lot of people go, well, I don't think that's going to work. And then they just never try it, when actually that could have been a home run. A good example of that was for me personally. I'm sure you've heard of Instacart before. It's one of the largest grocery delivery platforms. 2 years ago, I didn't really know much about it, and people were telling me you should check it out. I didn't really check it out. But then my CMO who came on board was like, hey, we should really check out Instacart. And he turned it on and it went gangbusters, and we got a ton of new customers from that platform. So I would always highly suggest testing anything before knocking it. And a good kind of example also is like TikTok. Like we're a little intimidated, because it's like TikTok requires a lot of creativity and a lot of good content creators, which is really hard to find and also can be very expensive. But we found a really awesome way to kind of to get that content through, and it just took time, and it just took the just taking that first step, and we were able to figure it out. Yeah, depending on the medium, the messaging definitely changes. Like SMS for us has been huge, but the messaging has been so much different than email. It's much more kind of like, hey, you're my buddy, on SMS. It's like, hey, what's up? It's here's a funny gift to laugh at. It's much more relaxed. And I think it's pretty cool, because you get way better open rates for sure, but it's just a different type you're just layering communication with your existing audience. And it's really important, whether they're scrolling on our Facebook feed and they're at work and they see a Facebook ad from us, and then, or they're searching for us on Google. We always want to be top of mind. And then all of a sudden they get an email from us and a text message from us. It's always intent sense. Like we don't want to just spam people.
Right.
But we always also want to be top of mind too, because once they're done with work, then they're at a grocery store and then they saw that ad and then they saw that SMS and that email, and then they go, oh, I should grab a few Koias while I'm at the store. So it's so different on so many different platforms, just because each medium and platform has a different kind of audience, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And a different expectation that goes with each type of message, like the difference between receiving an email and receiving a text message, like your expectations of what both of those things are is completely different. And so if you can match the expectation, the tone, everything, which it sounds like, it's very top of mind for you. That's how you provide that incredible customer experience.